I'm Sebastian St. James. Financial advice can be bad for you, and it's about to get worse. A proposed overhaul of how financial advice is regulated has consumer advocates, and some in the financial services industry, worried more Australians will suffer heavy losses. The Quality Advice Review report has been recently released for consultation. The most controversial of the review's 12 proposals is to scrap the best interest test. This would mean that your financial advisor would no longer be required to give you unbiased, fair financial advice that's actually in your best interest. The problem with the financial advice industry is this. They have a commission structure, so every product that your financial advisor puts you in, there is an initial commission per product. So that's like a kickback from the product. There is a trailing commission per product, and there's a percentage asset fee regardless of what product they put you in. See a financial advisor, take their advice, and it's like money, money, money. Oh, going to the financial advisor, not to you. That would be crazy speak. When your financial advisor recommends you product A, then product A actually pays an initial commission, a kickback fee if you like, to that advisor for choosing that product. Then, as the years roll on, they'll get a percentage, a trailing commission forever, as long as they keep you in that product. Is your advisor incentivized to buy that product? Yes, that's the initial commission. And to keep you in that product forever? Yes, of course, that's the trailing commission. Then, regardless of which product your financial manager actually places you in, they have a separate fee, a FUM, a funds under management fee. That's a fixed percentage of your total assets that they will actually scoop off every year for, well, they're your financial manager. You sign the contract, you agree that we can scoop off a fixed percentage every year, and all those fees add up. Here are two different financial products. See which one you like the best. Here is a super kickback fund. Aha, I've heard about this. It pays a 5% establishment commission to your financial advisor. It has a 2% trailing commission every year to your financial advisor and has no proven track record, but it pays amazing fees to your financial advisor. The second choice is a low-cost sensible fund. Aha, it has 1% account establishment commission. It pays 0.5% trailing commission each year, and it has a proven track record, but it's low cost and it's sensible. This is Jake. He is an electrician. Hi Jake, thanks for wiring me up a new socket. This is Sam. He is a financial advisor. And this is Dave. He's Sam's boss. Dave's orders are that Sam, his employee, has actually commission targets that he must reach within the month of October. Aha! The commissions and fees that Sam has to get as a financial advisor is $450,000 for this month. So far, he's only earned $123,000 for the company. Wow, you are way behind, Sam. Jake, my electrician, has come to Sam for financial advice. So, Sam is faced with two options. Should he put Jake in the kickback fund, which pays 5% initial commission and 2% trailing, or in the sensible fund, which pays 1% initial and 0.5% trailing? Choices, choices, choices. Of course, he is a financial advisor. To many people, they are like the priest of finance. In other words, whatever they say goes. Sam could push the kickback fund. He can please his boss, keep his job, and earn a fat bonus. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? Or he can push the sensible fund, annoy his boss, and possibly lose his job and earn no bonus at all. So what will Sam, the financial advisor, do? And will Jake get good, independent financial advice? That's a question I want to know. The problem with the financial advice industry is that the incentive structure is aligned so that the financial advisor gives good financial advice to themselves to improve their commissions and fees, not to looking after the client. And that is a big issue. Under ASIC's rules, ASIC has indicated that personal advice does not need to be ideal, perfect, or best to comply with the Corporations Act. Therefore, so long as disclosure requirements are met, it is legally permissible for an advisor to recommend a product privately knowing it is not the best option for the client. Oh, and the proposed changes to the financial advice game will make things even worse. In 2012, the best interest duty was introduced by the Rudd Labor government after a series of financial advice industry scandals and was built upon by the 2018 Banking Royal Commission. Is anybody speaking out, besides me, against these proposed changes? Well, yes, they are. Consumer advice organisations Choice, the Consumer Action Law Centre, the Financial Rights Legal Centre and the Financial Counselling Australia have warned the review's proposals would unwind decades of consumer protections. These proposals are really quite shocking, Choice Chief Executive Alan Kirkland said. That work that started after the scandals of the global financial crisis and continued after what we saw in the Banking Royal Commission, and yet just a few years after the Banking Royal Commission report, the review proposes the undoing of all that good work. What the review says is, instead of having a financial requirement that advisors act in your best interest, they now just have to give you good advice. But good advice is defined as advice that puts you in a better financial position. So you could be in a terrible super product with a super fund. You could go and get advice from that super fund and they could recommend that you move to a slightly better super product, but it could still be one of the worst on the market. And that would be considered good advice under this test. The proposed changes also mean that different people who in the past have never been able to give financial advice will be able to. People employed by product issuers such as superannuation funds, banks or insurers with only some training would also be allowed to provide advice to customers. In other words, financial companies that have actually products to sell you, their staff could legally give you financial advice. Oh yes, I can't see any conflict of interest ever happening there. So what sort of problems could happen under this proposed changes? Well, problems have already happened, and here's an example. Barbara worked 2 jobs for 13 years to build up a portfolio of blue chip stocks, but bad financial advice cost her up to $700,000. Her hard work had allowed her to buy shares in a long list of major ASIC listed companies, including the big miners, retailers and banks. However, after signing up for financial advice with wealth manager Dixon Advisory and Superannuation Services Proprietary Limited in 2009, she was eventually convinced to sell off her portfolio and to buy in the company's property fund. They said this was the time to go global, and it was prudent management of our portfolio, she said. Barbara has calculated that advice cost her between $450,000 and $700,000 in lost investment and opportunity. Her financial advisors saw a honeypot in us retirees having all their portfolios. They couldn't resist. We were irresistible, the Sydney-based retiree said. They tore all my portfolio apart. I was left with nothing but their rubbish. There was no dividends paid. I was totally destroyed when I realised what I'd agreed to, she said. This is a tragic story, but it's not the only example where bad financial advice has actually ruined a client. So what can you do? Knowing what the proposed changes of financial advice is going forward and knowing what's already been going on in the past. Remember the story about Barbara was from 2009. What can you possibly do? Number 1, be aware that financial advisors have incentives that aren't in your best interest. Number 2, become educated. Financial education is the best defense against being taken advantage of. Financial education, where you personally become in control of your own financial future, is the best defense against the black arts of financial advice. So, are there actually any good financial advisors out there? Or are the financial advisors all gonna rip me off? They're kind of a bit like mechanics. You can find some amazing ones. My personal mechanic is wonderful. I trust him with the life of my car every day of the week. But like mechanics, there's also a whole lot of dodgy ones who their financial incentive for a mechanic, of course, is to always magically find something wrong with your vehicle so they can go ahead and fix it and charge you for it. When I was in my 20s, I had a problem with my vehicle, big issues with the engines. I called out a mobile mechanic. He had a look at my car and said, your cylinder head gasket is ruined. There's actually liquid coming up into the engine and you basically have to have a massive overhaul. You can come into our centres, because he was a mobile mechanic, and we will rebuild your engine for you. I said, no, that's not acceptable for me. I ended up going to a local mechanic who I found as a recommendation of a friend, and my new mechanic, even over the phone, said, okay, what's the make and model of your car? I told him. He said, that's highly unlikely that the cylinder head gasket would go in that particular vehicle. He says, what's much more likely is that there's a condensation build-up, that's where the water's coming from, and your cylinder head gasket, there's actually no problems at all. I took my vehicle in, he checked things out, it was just a condensation build-up, no problems, a fairly cheap fix, and my cylinder head gasket did not need replacing at all. But that mechanic could have ripped me off because I went in with that expectation that I needed that job to be done because the other mechanic had told me. A good mechanic is worth their weight in gold because to some extent your engine is like a black box that you may know nothing about. If your mechanic says, your distributor has a problem with your inferential differentiator and you'll need $20,000 to get that fixed, you better do it soon, otherwise we'll cause more problems with your engine. You're likely to say, well, he probably knows best. But that's money in his pockets. The financial incentives are not aligned in your best interest. In the same way, a financial advisor's interests are often totally opposite to yours and are not in your best interest. So, while finding an honest financial advisor can be a good thing, sifting the wheat from the chaff, the honest from the dishonest, can be fraught with problems. That is why I say education trumps financial advice every time. You build up your own financial education. You get to the point where your own decisions are made by you. Of course, you have your best interests at heart, and therefore you're not relying on second-hand advice from somebody who you're not quite sure where their incentives are aligned. Quality free education, like from myself and other people, and you can read books written by sound-minded people. You can build up your financial skill set over time, and then you won't need to seek out a financial advisor because you already have that basis that you need to make your financial decisions on. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to build up your financial education a little bit every day. And in the same way you don't want somebody else to choose a wife for you, or a husband, whichever the case may be, I wouldn't want that, then you probably don't want people to choose financial products for you. You want to get educated, build up your own financial education skill set to the point where financial advice is just not necessary for you. So where should you go next on your financial journey of discovery? To my next video would be an excellent choice. Where to invest $10,000 right now? Click here to find out.